The Jeffrey Epstein saga has faded in and out of the spotlight. One moment files are said to exist, the next they're nowhere to be found. Names surface, then vanish. A client list is rumored, then denied. Prince Andrew gets mentioned, or he doesn't. Honestly, I don't buy any of it. Not for a minute. I'm convinced it's fabricated. There's never been an authentic version released, and all I've come across are copies of copies, never the real thing. I just don't think it ever took place. Fast forward to January 2026. Meghan Markle is rolling out her new Netflix cooking series, sharing posts about new chapters and that golden California light. On the surface, everything seems flawless for the Duchess of Sussex, yet there's something no one's mentioning in public. Whispers are moving through certain networks that paperwork from GHISLAINE Maxwell's time behind bars has recently come to light. Not ordinary paperwork, a personal journal. Supposedly, its entries list names, meetings, and ties that influential figures have worked hard to keep hidden for years. And according to those passing along the info, one name keeps showing up repeatedly: Meghan Markle, linked to 12 distinct trips to Jeffrey Epstein's private island. From what people are sharing, this journal notes 12 occasions during the period between her time trying to break into Hollywood and when she first connected with Harry. The real bombshell? Supposed pictures included, ones that insiders describe as capturing precisely what Meghan was involved in within those high society groups long before she held a royal title. To be upfront, these accusations remain unconfirmed. We're dealing with stories making the rounds, not established proof. Still, the timing feels uncanny, combined with the lack of response from Meghan's camp and how it ties into lingering questions about her background. It's hard to brush aside. So hold on, because if what's supposedly written in these entries holds any truth, it could unravel the entire persona Meghan has carefully shaped. Let me break down what insiders are reportedly saying about these claimed journal notes. Back in November 2025, some of Maxwell's prison correspondence did leak. That part is on record, and staff actually lost their jobs because of it. But now the talk is that there's far more than just those messages. People with knowledge insist Maxwell maintained thorough accounts while incarcerated, including journal pages where she supposedly logged individuals, incidents, and relationships from the days she helped run Epstein's circle. Because Prince Harry's wife, in the view of some, created the greatest disruption within that royal household, one already tainted by its own Epstein associations and serious wrongdoing tied to him. And Meghan, it said, basically stepped in and said, "Watch this. I can make things even messier for them." And apparently she succeeded. Why would Maxwell bother recording any of this? It adds up when you consider her situation. She's staring down 2 decades in custody. She had a meeting with a Trump-era deputy attorney general in the summer of 2025. Official logs confirm she's building appeal arguments and plotting legal moves. In the legal world, knowledge is the ultimate bargaining chip. You exchange what you possess for leniency or advantages. So if Maxwell possesses proof of which prominent figures were genuinely part of Epstein's web, that's serious negotiating power. It could mean improved prison terms, or even a shot at getting out sooner. And for those in the know, Meghan Markle's name features prominently in these supposed accounts. Not just a couple of mentions, but 12 recorded trips to Little St. James, the island where we know terrible abuses occurred, as survivors have described in testimony. A place where influential men assembled for things they'd never acknowledge openly. If she's truly the victim of an unfair conviction, as some argue, then why wouldn't she jump at cooperating with investigators? Especially something like testifying before Congress. With global eyes on it, if she's as blameless as claimed, wouldn't that be the ideal platform? I'm choosing my phrasing carefully, since these journal allegations lack outside confirmation. No major news outlet has shared the actual content. But the detail in these circulating accounts, coming from individuals said to have seen Maxwell's materials and linked to the Epstein probes, isn't casual chatter. It's pointed and specific. This part stands out particularly. Those familiar with the purported journal say the trips stretch from roughly 2001 to 2013. That's the era when Meghan was grinding as an aspiring performer, working on Deal or No Deal, chasing any audition she could snag. Not the kind of schedule that typically includes casual jaunts to a secluded Caribbean getaway 12 different times, unless powerful, moneyed figures are arranging and funding the travel. Consider the practical side. Reaching a private island requires an invitation, a private flight, entry into exclusive groups where tycoons and royalty mingle. How does someone still building a career in television pull off repeated access to one of the planet's most guarded spots? You being a lawyer, you saw how narrowly they built the case against her, zeroing in on the sex offenses alone. It was aggravating to watch, knowing names of well-known, affluent individuals were floating around but never pursued. The supposed time frame lines up with Epstein and Maxwell's peak activity right before his 2008 plea deal, when the island operated, just as later court accounts portrayed, a secluded site where young women were transported to please influential men, hidden behind layers of money and discretion. And per those who claim insight into the journal's contents, Meghan's presence wasn't as someone exploited. The surrounding details supposedly frame her as tied to the setup, aware of the dynamics, and involved in keeping up appearances that it was merely rich folks enjoying themselves. You follow what I mean? If any portion checks out, this isn't a case of bad luck or poor company. It's about her allegedly playing an active role in systems now recognized as profoundly exploitative. Now, onto those rumored images, because that's the element that could validate or sink everything. Written records are one thing, visuals are much harder to dismiss. Talk circulating insists Maxwell's materials contain photographs, actual shots allegedly placing Meghan on the island, at yacht events, in scenarios tough to frame as harmless mingling. We already know images from Epstein's environment surfaced in legal proceedings. Survivors spoke of recording devices throughout the property. Epstein reportedly relied on surveillance as a tool for control over the elite. So the notion of photos documenting visitors isn't wild, trials establish that much. But shots specifically featuring Meghan? Insiders say they're among what Maxwell preserved. Pictures supposedly capturing her at island events, on boats alongside Epstein, Maxwell, and other notable figures in contexts that prompt serious questions about her awareness and involvement. The sort that would shatter her public narrative of being unaware of high-level misconduct until joining the royals and facing it personally, thereby gaining sympathy. Whatever happened in childhood that secured power, affection, or importance tends to carry forward unconsciously into grown-up patterns. One massage therapist was brought in, recruited, I believe by Maxwell, to serve as Epstein's personal masseuse. That's how much of the mistreatment began during her employment there. Recall Virginia Giuffre's attorney, David Boies. In 2021, he openly stated interest in deposing Meghan as part of the Prince Andrew matter. That's on record. He described her as someone close to Andrew who could shed light on his actions. A seasoned litigator with Epstein file access making that call, not guesswork, but part of case preparation. And Meghan didn't push back, no demands for retraction, no suit against Boies for suggesting she held pertinent info. She let it pass. That's not typical for someone blameless when attorneys publicly tie them to a sex offender circle. Make no mistake, GHISLAINE Maxwell stands convicted as part of that predatory system. People have understood her central role since at least 1996, when warnings were given. Epstein was the front. She directed the show. Now, connecting how Meghan supposedly entered that world, it's disturbingly seamless. Kirby Summers, author of an unofficial Maxwell biography, stated in 2022 that Meghan possibly crossed paths with Prince Andrew via Maxwell and Epstein well before Harry. Not idle talk. A writer who researched Maxwell's contacts making direct assertions about Meghan's links. Summers highlighted Marcus Anderson as a potential bridge. He's a Soho House worldwide membership head credited with introducing Meghan to Harry, that's confirmed. But Summers argued Anderson's network reached further, intersecting Epstein's sphere as early as 2001, offering a pathway for an up-and-coming actress to reach billionaire retreats. Marcus Anderson stands apart in the Meghan Markle story because he's essential. Without him, it's hard to see how she achieved her current worldwide recognition. Soho House functions as an elite connector for driven individuals seeking entry to money and influence. Exclusive venues where business unfolds privately. Anderson's position involves making key introductions, unlocking opportunities for those he views as promising. If his ties extended to Epstein-Maxwell circles, and he guided Meghan there during her acting days, it accounts for repeated island access, yacht appearances, and her rapid rise from minor roles to royal partner. It wasn't mere fortune. She plugged into facilitators of upward mobility. One keen detail: in certain images, the man in plaid standing near Meghan resembles Marcus Anderson. Who is he, and why does he remain so constant around her and Harry? Comparing features, like jawlines, from earlier shots to others, Maxwell would have spotted Meghan's drive right away. Her skill lay in spotting ambitious women skilled at navigating wealthy men, prepared to go the distance for advancement. If Maxwell tracked such figures, Meghan fitting that profile would naturally land in her notes. If any of this proves true, the fallout is massive. Meghan entered the British monarchy as Duchess of Sussex, gaining proximity to the Queen, sensitive information, global leaders. Concealing a dozen Epstein Island trips, personal Maxwell ties, and possible photos, the security risks are enormous. Royal entrants undergo thorough vetting, background probes, relationship reviews. Either Meghan concealed it masterfully, showing exceptional secrecy, or it was overlooked, implying a broader protection effort. Consider Prince Andrew. His Epstein links demolished his position, stripped of duties, lawsuit settlement, public isolation. All while, if true, Meghan sat at family gatherings aware of her own history, letting him absorb the scrutiny as she stayed protected. Even granting his full account, which many doubt, he admitted friendship with a notorious offender, staying at properties where abuse occurred. That realization would torment most people. It's beyond double standards, it's deliberate narrative control, safeguarding herself as others face consequences. Should Maxwell's purported journal substantiate those ties, every royal who backed Meghan appears misguided. Every instance Harry defended her against his relatives positions him as championing someone who misrepresented her past. This persists beyond just Maxwell's alleged notes, because whispers about Meghan's pre-Harry days have lingered, yacht-related claims, associations with affluent men on private vessels, and elite getaways. Defenders label it sexist backlash against a capable woman. Personally, what were you pursuing career-wise? About 5 years back, I had begun acting after double majoring in theater and international relations at Northwestern. I'd imagined a diplomatic path, worked at the U.S. Embassy in Argentina, but those yacht rumors zeroed in on Epstein-Maxwell orbits, Phuket gatherings, exact networks later exposed as corrupt. Coincidence, or insight from insiders who knew fragments but lacked hard evidence? The 2001 Phuket event recurs. Images from it exist. Andrew present with Epstein and Maxwell, verified. Sources insist a woman there is Meghan, though never fully authenticated. If the journal ties Meghan to that occasion, disputed pictures gain credibility, lending weight to years of speculation. What emerges is that Prince Andrew misrepresented his final Epstein contact in that Newsnight discussion as December 2010. Maxwell's supposed materials could validate long-standing theories with solid backing, forcing media acknowledgement. It tracks why Maxwell would preserve meticulous logs. She oversaw Epstein's system for years, knew every detail. That knowledge equals safety and influence. Meghan now surrounds herself with affirmers, feeding an extreme disconnect from reality. Yet recall her lengthy sit-down with Jamie Kern-Lima. Maxwell wasn't naive. She understood her vulnerability from Epstein work. Logging visitors, participants, knowledge levels, smart defense. In custody facing decades, those become her primary leverage. It's why guards face dismissal over leaked messages, why transfers to better facilities followed Trump official meetings, why she receives privileges others don't. Influential figures recognize her potential to harm them. The incomplete pursuit of Epstein's full circle leaves abusers and those blackmailed in power unchecked. Trust in official systems remains excessive. A journal chronicling Meghan's alleged dozen island trips, backed by visuals, that's prime material Maxwell would retain. Valuable leverage on a royal insider with worldwide reach. What happens next? If this supposed diary emerges, if images appear placing Meghan there, if credible outlets cover it with substantiation, her current existence collapses. Brand implodes. Netflix walks away. Deals vanish. The advocate for genuine, living exposed as concealing ties to one of modern history's worst offenders. Her talks on child protection lose all weight if evidence places her in Epstein's sphere repeatedly. The elite jet-setting to his island for depraved gatherings with the world's most powerful. For Harry, he abandoned family, titles, duties, relocated, severed ties with William and Charles over doubts about Meghan. If those doubts were valid, if she concealed Epstein links, he sacrificed his heritage for someone deceptive from the start. That's devastating for their partnership and his standing. Bottom line, secrets rarely stay hidden online. Leaks happen, images emerge, conversations spread. For someone as visible as Meghan with alleged proximity to Epstein, truth surfaces eventually. It'll shake political circles. There's motive for suppression. Epstein's death remains deeply questionable. Cameras failed, circumstances bizarre. Maxwell, in her Texas cell, has every reason to deploy what she holds. Appeals continue. She's maneuvering for release. Details of Meghan's alleged dozen island trips. That's currency, trading for concessions or shielding from those desperate to keep it quiet. Either the diary exists and surfaces, or it's invented and crumbles. But Meghan's camp's quiet speaks volumes. They're wary of Maxwell's potential revelations, of possible photos, of how contesting creates bigger risks than silence. Right now in California, Meghan reportedly grasps that Maxwell holds destructive power over her world. That journal could confirm rumors long denied. Photos might reveal her pre-Duchess activities in those circles. That's existence, shadowed by dread of exposure for misrepresentations about the past. When Maxwell's alleged records finally appear, when their contents become known, the aspiring royal turns into another figure who believes status would shield truths indefinitely. Time is running out. Maxwell, imprisoned with little remaining to protect and much to gain, may choose revelation.